Hello, you wonderful internet weebs and other people watching this for some reason. I'm Kid Yuki, and this is Top OP, the show where I review my top 10 anime opening songs of the season. It is currently not the summer 2019 anime season, but that's not going to stop me from talking about it. Let's just say I had some minor health complications that kept me from putting this video out on time, and I didn't feel like letting all the work I put into it go to waste. But since this video is about a season that has already passed us by, let's get aboard the nostalgia bus, take a trip down memory lane, and yada yada yada, title card, whatever. As usual, these reviews are purely my opinion, and songs will only be ranked based on the music, regardless of my thoughts on the anime they are attached to. Alright, this first one was a little bit of a surprise for me, and that's really just because I'm not usually that big of a fan of Aoi. That's not just because I'm terrible at pronouncing her name either. I always thought of her as the lady who sounds like she's just yelling all the time, going back to the first few songs I heard from her, like Sirius from Kill la Kill and Ignite from Sword Art Online. I never thought she was a bad singer. I was just not all that into the intensity that she just seemed to try so hard to get across over and over again. Fortunately for me, she shows a lot more restraint in this Granbelm OP. Now, as far as the song itself, across the board, it's fine. Good even. In my notes, I put, best crossing field clone in a while. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you've seen any of my other Top OP videos, you've already heard me talk about songs that sound like they're trying to copy off of Crossing Field from Sword Art Online. I mean, I'm sure Crossing Field wasn't the first song to sound like this, but it's definitely one of the biggest earlier examples of the dancey, strings-driven, but still heavy-ish rock song that came to be synonymous with the fantasy adventure OP. This formula has sort of been done to death over the past few years, so you really need to do something special in order to make a song like this stand out, and Tsukiwo o Mayonaka, well, it doesn't really do that. Again, everything is fine. The instrumentals are good, the vocal melodies are passable, Aoi Eire's performance is pretty good. The mix gets the job done, it's got some solid energy. It stands taller than a lot of the other Crossing Field clones, but that's really more of a testament to just how many mediocre uses of this formula there are. This Granbelm OP does just enough to get by, which is why I can't really put it any higher than number 10. So if the Granbelm OP is a Crossing Field clone, then this Astra OP is definitely a Soraura Days clone. Now, Soraura Days and Crossing Field are definitely cut from the same cloth structurally, but the main difference to me is a stronger emphasis on the guitar, as well as swapping out the dramatic strings for some synth leads. Songs like this tend to give off less of a fantasy vibe, which makes sense in the case of Astra and Gurren Lagann. To me, Starfrost does just a little bit more to stand out compared to Tsukiwo o Mayonaka. For starters, the verse melody has some minor 13 flavor, music theory peeps, you know what I'm talking about, which makes it a little more interesting than most verse melodies. In fact, in general, I prefer the vocals in this song a little more over the Granbelm OP. I really like Nonok's voice. The chorus melody is nothing special, and that's probably one of the main reasons why this song is so low on this list. But other than that, the guitars and drums are pretty cool, the mix is really nice, you can hear all the instruments really clearly. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that synth sound that they use in this song. It doesn't ruin everything for me, I just kind of wish they'd used a different patch, which, fuck me, right, because that sound is everywhere in anime music. Overall, this is definitely one of the better Soraura Days clones, which, again, like I said about Crossing Field clones, you really have to do something special to stand out, but this is good, nothing amazing, but solid across the board. I couldn't find much information to lead off with about this song and the people who made it. I guess Ryo Takahashi wrote this and the rest of the music for Arifureta, but is he void chords? Is Leo the singer? Based on how things are written, I'm gonna assume for the sake of this review that the answer to that second question is yes. If I'm wrong, someone just correct me in the comments. So this song is cool with kind of an electronic, dancey kind of feel, but it also has a fair amount of strings on top. It sounds pretty different from anything else this season, and I just enjoy listening to it. Leo's vocal performance is really nice. The verse melody is not the catchiest, but it's very unique and pretty. The chorus melody is a bit catchier and has a lot more power than in the verse. The instrumentation is really good too. I like the energy, I like the driving drums in the verse. Some of the synth parts are just wild. There's this one crazy flittering thing that I thought was a guitar part, but now I'm pretty sure it's actually a synth. Now for things I don't like. I'm not a fan of the breakdown and build-up pre-chorus thing. It feels kind of jarring and forced, like the producer had this bassy breakdown part that they really wanted to put into a song and they just shoved it into this one without even really trying to make it work. I don't even think this part sounds all that good on its own. But the biggest demerit for me comes from the mix. It's just so muddy. There's a serious lack of clarity in the instruments and the vocals, leading to a lot of parts blending together and sort of getting lost. When I first listened to this thing, I thought, oh, I must have just found a bad recording on YouTube or something. But I watched an episode on Funimation, and it was the same thing. If the official streaming option, on the highest quality by the way, still sounds like that, I think I can safely chalk it up to just a bad mix. Still, despite that, Flare by Void Chords is unique and enjoyable enough to raise it above the vast majority of the OPs this season, so solid number 8 spot. A lot of, quote, jazzy anime OPs end up being basically rock or pop songs with just some jazzy elements thrown in. Maybe a swung drum beat, or some horns, or jazzy chord voicings. Songs like Bloody Stream from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Guns N' Roses from Bakano are great songs, but you're probably not going to hear anything like them in most jazz clubs. The OP from the new BEM series, on the other hand, is one of the few anime OPs that feels like a more traditional jazz number. The ghost note-laden drums, the walking bass, the stabbing piano chords. Maya Sakamoto's vocal performance is also much smoother and jazzier than, say, Tia's pop vocal stylings in the first Kakegurui OP. And honestly, authentic jazz feel alone is enough to land this song on this list. All the instrumental performances here are great. The vocal melody is also fine, not bad, not amazing. Now, there was a stylistic choice made with the recording and mixing of this song that I guess I appreciate in concept, but I think ended up being more of a disservice in practice. For the sake of giving the song a more intimate feel, they mic'd some parts very closely and left their tracks very dry, by which I mean they added very little reverb or delay. For the bass, I think this is cool because you can hear the fingers plucking the strings, and I just like the tone and feel that gives in general. For the vocals, I'm not as fond of how this was executed. Adding reverb to a track makes the instrument on that track feel farther away, so naturally, having little to no reverb makes the instrument feel closer. Again, this was the idea, to give the song a more intimate vibe, but in the case of the vocals, they feel so close it's kind of uncomfortable, sort of claustrophobic, at least to me. It's like Sakamoto is singing softly into your ear, which maybe some people would be into, but I don't know, it just feels more like an invasion of personal space. Plus you get this sort of NPR laid-back radio host kind of a thing where you can hear every little pop and click in the person's mouth. Again, just too close for comfort for me. If the vocals weren't so high in the mix, this probably wouldn't bother me so much, and this song would probably be a couple spaces higher, but nope, they are very much front and center. I mean, does it totally ruin the song? No. Uchuo no Kyoku is still very good and unique in its attempted authenticity. It's tight, it's fun, it's sexy. Hell, maybe it even works for ASMR for some people, I don't know. Takagi-san OP 2. This song is basically a ballad, just at a higher tempo. It's very pretty, very sentimental and feelsy. It's just nice. It feels nice all the way through. The verse melody is fine, but really it's all about the hook. It's so catchy and full of peak season feels. None of the instrumentals are really anything to write home about, but hey, they get the job done. Yuiko Ohara's voice is great and fits the song very well. Enjoy this song while reminiscing with friends or while in the embrace of a loved one. Don't think too much about what the instruments are playing, just experience the moment. Alright, moment's over, let's move on. Some of you may remember that Fruits Basket got the number 2 spot for my Spring 2019 list, so yes, this is a few steps down from that. But honestly, the fact that it's on this list at all means that it fared way better than other top picks from previous seasons. This is another example of an up-tempo ballad kind of thing, but bad drummer though. Did the notes in his sheet music just say go ham on the snare drum forever? I love it, just ghost notes all day long. I'm a man who loves some good ghost notes. It really adds some instrumental intrigue to a style of song that could easily become too formulaic. Though, honestly, everything else about the song is great too. It's well written, the vocals are pretty catchy throughout. Ai Otsuka's performance is really nice. I especially love how her vocal delivery changes from verse to chorus. The strings and piano and little guitar bits are all really pretty. There's some nice dramatic uses of rests and accents in the pre-chorus. I guess if I had to give a criticism, it'd be that other than the strings and drums and vocals, the instruments blend together a little too much, especially in the chorus. I don't really mind it though. Honestly, this is another one of those songs where the only reason it isn't higher on the list is because I just enjoyed the songs above it a little tiny bit more. Alright, Machikado Tangent. This song just feels cute and soft and comfy. It's the musical equivalent of pajamas right out of the dryer. Or, I guess this is for weebs. It's the musical equivalent of a kigurumi. The vocal melodies are decently catchy across the board and are delivered in a very pleasant manner. Often vocalists who try to sing extra moe annoy me because you can really hear the strain in their voice, but the vocals in this song are much more natural and, I guess, pleasing to the ear. Definitely moe, but they don't sound nearly as forced. Also, there's some interesting jazzy chord changes, especially in the pre-chorus. I love that pre-chorus. It's got this cloudy, dreamy kind of feel. I could do without the 3-2-1 leading into it, but I don't mind all that much. This is one of those songs that has a lot of layers of instrumentation, guitars, strings, horns, bells, lots of backup vocals. I think I heard a harp in there. Some of it kind of blends together, but I think that's okay in this case. Not every single instrument has to have a perfectly isolated place in the mix when you have something this extravagantly arranged. I will say that the sound of the vocal track is a little weird, sort of flat maybe? Like the vocal track could use a little bit more clarity, maybe a little bit more high end. But overall, super fun, super cute, great song all the way through. Of all the anime this season, I definitely didn't expect SD Gundam of all things to come in with such an ass kicker of an opening. Seriously, wait, what's the band name? Swanky Dank? Alright, Swanky Dank didn't have to go as hard as they did on this song, but they did. They did it for us. It's so close to being my number one pick. It's just this one, well, we'll get to that. Stuff I love about this song. The energy. The instrumentals are like major key metal, the driving drum beat, and the straight up tasty 7-string guitar riffs. And then on top, the vocals are on much more of a pop style, and yet they don't feel too out of place. So it's heavy and rocking, yet also poppy and catchy without being super whiny like what I think of when I hear the words post-hardcore. The verse melody is pretty good as well. It's just the chorus. It feels phoned in. Like they didn't know what to put here and maybe had a deadline to meet or something. There's just too much going on for it to be effective. Too many decent at best melody lines pushed together. The spoken vocal parts that come in on top are kind of obnoxious. It also didn't have to be modulated. It could have stayed in the same key as the verse and pre-chorus and felt more cohesive with the rest of the song. By the way, gratuitous modulations are a thing Japanese pop and rock composers like to do a lot, but I'll have to dive into that more another time. I do enjoy this song. A lot. I have so much fun listening to this thing. Maybe if I were to analyze it a bit more objectively, the song would fall a few spots lower, but man, I love that opening riff so much, and the verse vocals, and pretty much everything that isn't the chorus. And the chorus isn't even bad, it's just not great. I don't know, I can't seem to separate out my own personal enjoyment from this, so despite the fact that I have some serious criticisms, this song is at goddamn number 3. Don't like it? Fine. Complain about it in the comments if you want, but this video is out, so it's already too late. We can't go back now. Everyone and their trash tier waifu knew this song was going to be on the list. It's too good. It's got energy out the batoot. The guitar riffs are fun, the vocals are catchy all the way through, those falsetto bits in the chorus, maybe that's a love it hate it thing, but I love it. Because it's so high tempo and the verses and choruses are relatively short, you end up getting basically 2 chorus sections in the span of 90 seconds. It practically feels like you listen to an entire full-length song. I don't necessarily think all OPs should follow this, but I think it's pretty cool and it fits the song really well. Like, this thing is fast and punchy, so I think it's fitting that the verses and choruses come in these tight bursts. Criticisms? I don't know. The song is awesome. Great writing, performing, mixing, just fantastic across the board. So what could possibly beat it? Well, it'd probably be more fulfilling for me to tell you now, but I'm not going to because I'm bad at audience retention. Let's talk runners-up. I've got two. Tempest from Mausama Retry and Sentimental from Given. Tempest is a dark, dancey electronic song with harmonies that make me think of Alley Project with maybe a little hint of Calafina. I like the production for the most part. Lots of fun synth lines flying all over the place. I'm not so crazy about the choice of drum sound, but I hear this same drum sound in a lot of Japanese songs, so what are you gonna do? I think the vocals can be better in parts, and I definitely think the melodies could stand to be tightened up. As for the Given OP, it's another upbeat kind of poppy rock song, much like Peace Sign from My Hero Academia. Peace Sign is far from the first song to have this sound, but I just feel like I hear this sound more and more these days, and the Given OP is a fairly cookie-cutter version. It's fun. The drums are fairly active, which is cool. The verses are decently catchy. The chorus, not so much. Despite being kind of generic, the song might have made it onto the top 10 list if the chorus melody was just a little bit better. So yeah, let's see that number one. Okay, do I have your attention for those first 9 seconds? Because if I don't, then we have wildly different tastes and my thoughts on this song probably won't mean much to you. Just, what? Like, that sounds like the beginning to some grand prog rock opus. I mean, it isn't because it turns into a groovy, funky dance number a la Bradio immediately after, but hey, I like all of those words too. Paradise City from Copcraft is just jam-packed with elements that I love. Those wild drums in the beginning, piles and piles of groove in the verse and chorus, the bass just flying all over the place, catchy melodies from front to back. Actually, a friend of mine said it sounded kind of like a Katamari song, and I'm inclined to agree. The horns and piano and backup vocals, the vocal delivery of the lead singer, the swing jazz pre-chorus, very, very Katamari. Oh, and I love the feel of that chorus. Those descending minor chords paired with that vocal melody. It feels dark and mischievous, which I think is a cool juxtaposition to the lighthearted vibes from the rest of the song. I don't have much to say about the mix. It's good, it works, no complaints. So yeah, I mean, this song is pretty flashy. There's a lot going on, but it's well organized. It's not just a bunch of crazy bits thrown together into some crazy bit pile. It also sounds just different enough from the other songs this season that it feels pretty fresh, which honestly helps me a lot when I'm sitting through 50 songs and like 20 of them are all Crossing Field clones. I think that's an exaggeration, but it probably won't be one of these days. So yeah, in closing, fun song. Go listen to it. Or don't. So there's my list. What did you think? Was the order all wrong? Did I include some songs that suck? Did I miss out on some songs that are actually good? Make sure to let me know all your thoughts in the comments below, including your own top 10 list if you got one. And while you're down there, do the usual stuff, like and subscribe, ring the bell thing for notifications, check out some previous videos, which should be around my face right about now. All my social media accounts, including my Patreon page, are down in the doobly-doo. I think that's it. I'll see you again soon with another edition of Top OP. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Kid Yuki. You've been awesome. And until next time, keep anime rockin'.